traveling fighters, brought together by a common destiny, now meet at the Battle Arena Toshinden. Many years have passed since this tournament, known only to those in the underworld, was last held. Some fighters have come for personal glory. Others have come to fight for those they love. But all will do their best to be victorious in this tournament, which will decide their fortunes.
Hey everyone, welcome back with Mac, where today we're doing yet another playthrough of Battle Arena Toshinden. This time we are playing as Gaia, which totally a girl's name, by the way. I think she likes me. Anyway, yeah, we're playing this guy who is like he's not the final boss. He's the final boss of the main game. However, there's a secret boss show, which this guy, it kind of should have been like the opposite. Like, show should have been the final boss of the game, and would make a lot more sense, I feel like. Oh, shit, I just creamed the shit out of Mondo here. But, and then he should have been like the secret boss. Because, like, he sticks out to me as like the Shao Kahn. He's very intimidating, he's very big, he does massive damage with every single move he does. But I will give him the credit for this. The reason why Sho is the final boss, and the secret one instead of Gaia, is because Gaia is just too slow to be too worrisome. You know, he's the kind of guy where, like, if you don't know how to fight him, he is the most intimidating, annoying character to fight. But once you just know that, hey, I gotta dodge and then wait for the opening, easy as cake. But hopefully the AI doesn't figure that out in this game. They figured it out, folks. Man, first fight and we already lost a round. But I'm still trying to figure out his moves and stuff too, to be honest. Because I want this to be kind of still like show a lot of special moves. Because I mean, yeah, I could just, you know, dodge as all the characters and stuff like that. But then all the playthroughs would be very samey. This is going to be the last one for a while. So if you're not a Battle Arena Toshinden fan and you've been watching, you know, you'll have your wish. But that said, I'm not 100% sure, but this might be like a Tekken 3 situation, which I'll come back to it later. Kind of like how I came back to Tekken 3 and did a King playthrough to finish that up. I might come back and play as all the characters for this, because I do really, you know, I've kind of pretty much admitted and talked crap about this game and said, like, yeah, it was cool and all, but, you know, compared to other games, it's not the best. And, you know, I still stand by that, but I mean, it's still just such a fun game for me to play. But I do want to move on to the sequel, Battle Arena Toshinden 2 at some point, then 3. I'm going to probably skip 4 because it's Japanese exclusive and it has, like, none of the characters I would want to play as. Oh, I thought he was going to fall off. That is something that can happen where, like, you won't get, like, the ring out, but, like, once you do your pose, like, certain characters, they'll spread their legs and then they'll fall during their, like, ring out pose. Like, they're actually programmed to do that, and it's very rare, but it's actually really fucking hilarious when that happens. I thought for sure that was gonna happen to Guy just now. I'm not gonna attempt it because I'm just gonna mess up this playthrough with a bunch of unintended ring outs, acting like a goofball, but hopefully that'll happen in one of my playthroughs. But I don't know, I'm kind of thinking maybe I'll do like a playthrough with everybody in this game, because this one in particular has a pretty small roster. There's only 10 characters, and everybody has like an ending. But I don't know. I was thinking of like I was going to like compile all the endings in this game on YouTube and do like one video that was real quick. But I looked it up and there's actually quite a few of those already. So if you want to see like, you know, all the character endings, there are like quite a few options on YouTube. When I was growing up, you know, super invested in this game, of course, like there was nobody like freaking touched this game, which is like he did a whole playthrough and, you know, they didn't do it on the highest difficulty and they didn't beat Sho and all this other stuff. So, like, you know, there was no compilation of endings when I was interested in this game, you know, like probably like 10 years ago is when I first really started getting into it. Maybe even further than that. I can't remember when I got into it, but you know, of course, when I wanted to see that stuff, you know, it wasn't available. Now that, you know, I just want to make a video out of it, you know, people have, you know, there's like 5 different options, which is cool. You know, I'm glad that you know, YouTube is really cool in the sense of like that it's an archive of stuff like this, you know. That's why I always talk about my thoughts on certain things and all that good, goofy, glorious stuff. Let's see if we can, come on, get the ring out. Oh. Ooh! We got her, folks. We got him. This is such a cool stage too. I love it's just Stonehenge for some reason. I don't really know what relevance that has to do with this character, but it's a really cool stage, you know, background-wise. It also looks like it's just, you know, a long fall there. And it's cool too, even for the final bosses and stuff like that. It's really awesome that they gave everybody like 2 outfits colors in this game, you know. So like I said, there's a lot of it's kind of like the Legends of Wrestling stuff, you know, of the fighting game 3D community. Lots of really cool ideas, lots of really awesome stuff, but it was just the gameplay itself was a little sluggish and not always the greatest when it came to that stuff, you know, and there were just some better options, but I don't know, for as much, you'd think that I actually kind of hate these games for as much crap as I talk about them. Usually, like, even, like, Attitude, WWF Attitude, I would say, like, yeah, people are just creditless, you know. I love Attitude, even though most people don't, and I'll defend it until the day I die, but Battle Arena Toshinden, it's just kind of one of those games where I can't. But that said, I mean, I absolutely love this whole series. You know, I love the characters, the stories, the attires, the arenas, the music, pretty much everything about it. I love the gameplay. I just wish, you know, I've mentioned it like a million times, pretty much. It's like my quote I gotta mention in every video. I just wish it would have had like another chance on PS2 by maybe a developer that, you know, could really do something with it, you know, gameplay-wise. Because they really did try. There are a surprising amount of things associated with this series that, you know, people just no longer know about, really, when you think about it. I was actually surprised. I made like on my main channel, I think it was top 10, yeah, it was top 10 beta features from WWF No Mercy, and I just like downloaded the whole soundtrack and put it in the video, and I kind of expected nobody even really bat an eye, but like half the comments on that video just like, man, Battle Arena Toshinden, you know, soundtrack, nice, dude. So glad to see there's some, at least in some respects, there are the Battle Arena Toshinden enjoyers, you know, the men of culture. And this is a close one. Ooh. We get, huh? Yeah, see, I swear, like, the damage that, like, moves do just sometimes just is so inconsistent. There'll be times where I'll hit the guy once and, like, a fifth of their health will come out. And then I'll do the same move when they're back completely turned, defenseless, and it'll do, like, chip damage. So I don't know what kind of mechanics they got going on in this game, I'll be honest with you folks. But I don't know. That said, in the comments down below, would you guys like to see me play some more of this game? You know, playing as all the characters eventually. Some of them, like Foe, I have actually tried, and his moves are just way too difficult to pull off. They made him unnecessarily difficult to pull off. Like Gaia, for example, you think he'd have like the most difficult moves to pull off since they all do so much damage, but no, it's Foe with his Mystic Sphere. And I don't know, this game, like, it's just not very responsive when it comes to special moves, so, like, there was no way. But that said, I'll give it another try. I feel like people are interested in actually seeing that. God damn it. These moves are too slow. They can get out of the way, even unintentionally. Yeah, just gotta wait for your opportunity. With EG, you gotta be careful. Him and, okay, that was just a load of horseshit. I don't care what anybody says, but you gotta be careful with these characters because, you know, you gotta guard down while also dodging, because if they hit you, they can hit you at the legs, and that's always a pain in the ass. Of course, you always gotta watch out for the desperation moves that the CPU loves to break out. Yeah, see, like, that took off like almost a third of his health. But if I do that other times, it'll take, like, you know, 1/52th of his health. 1/52nd. I'm definitely going to move on to Battle Arena Toshinden 2 and 3 at some point. I can't wait to play those. I was thinking maybe I'll do it like after like my playthroughs of this, but I'm not really sure. Because, you know, I kind of want to move on from franchise to franchise and, you know, give give things time to breathe and stuff. By the way, like, I'm not really a big YouTuber, so there's not really much of a thing as like momentum for my channel. But that said, I have played, you know, another fighting game series, Super Smash Bros. And I'm just kind of going from like game to game to game to game with that and clearing that stuff out. And I was at one point actually considering just not, you know, just doing like a very select few games I wanted to play and just kind of once again archive for my channel just to like show, hey, I played this at one point, you know, I did commentary, here were my thoughts at the time and stuff like that. That's kind of what this whole channel is really about. But then I don't know, I'm kind of thinking maybe I'm going to do some more stuff like that. So, and Nintendo Tuesday's probably not going to go anywhere anytime soon. Ooh, we got the double KO, we got the knockout and the ring out. That's a double win, folks. That's a double whammy. That's what I love to see. Fantastic stuff right there. Oh, god damn it. But yeah, I'm gonna play some more Nintendo stuff, and that's gonna take a lot longer than I expected. So I mean, there's gonna be a lot more years of that. You know, I still got there's some Battle Arena Toshinden games I'm gonna play, some Dragon Ball Z stuff, some more Tekken, of course. Of course, there's gonna be some other fighting game series. You know, I might try out some Soul Calibur. You know, I haven't really played that series that much at all, so I'm definitely interested to see how that series is. You know, very similar to this, honestly. I mean, it's got the ring out mechanics, the weapon fightings, the 3D, the crazy characters. Something that I really think is cool from Soul Calibur is you know, the intros of like the announcers and stuff like that, describing the battle scenes and stuff like that. That's pretty awesome little detail. And Tekken used to have really great creation. I think it kind of peaked in Tekken 6. And it's still pretty good, all things considered. It's just, I think it kind of gets worse a little bit from game to game. Maybe Tekken Tag Tournament 2 was the peak, I don't know, but Soul Calibur 2, I hear, not 2, but Soul Calibur as a series, I hear just has, you know, by far the best creation options out of like those Bandai Namco games. So I mean, I might have to check that out, but they even have their own like dedicated Reddit to it and stuff like that, which is pretty awesome. Seeing some people create some Battle Arena Toshinden characters too, which is pretty awesome. That said, I think the last one they had was Soul Calibur 5, if I'm correct. I think that may have been all the way on like was that PS4 or was that PS3? I can't remember. I think it may have been PS4, but I don't know if we're gonna get another one, just because like the landscape of gaming nowadays, like it's just such a money sink and a time sink for these series and franchises that, like, it's not like, you know, games back in this day. You know, you could make some really great games around like the PS1 and N64 era, and you know, some took some time to cook and stuff like that, definitely, and that was fine. But there were also some games, I mean, you could annual releases, you know. That was a big deal in like the PS2 era and the PS3 era still. And obviously like with sports titles nowadays, but like annual releases, it wasn't even that. Like it was like, you know, you could have like a new game like every 8 months. 6 to 8 months, and you know, depending on the series, I mean, you could still have some really, really great quality stuff out there, all things considered. But I mean, nowadays that's just not really the same deal we got. You know, it just takes too much time to develop this stuff, way too much money to develop these games. You know, you got to be a AAA studio. You know, even one loss, even one unsuccessful game shuts down like entire studios. You know, it's just a sad thing to see, man. Even games that do really well, if it doesn't do well enough, they still close down the studios, which is just so crazy to me. Especially because, like, you think about it, like, I remember Capcom in, like, 2012. That was, like, I think around the time people considered Capcom at its worst. You know, I think that was around the time when they had Street Fighter X Tekken, and people were pissed off because all the character, like, all the DLC was already on the disc. You just had to pay to unlock it, which is horseshit. I don't blame people. All the stuff as far as, like, people, obviously, I think Resident Evil 6 was kind of the game that really, I love that game, you know, I'll defend it all time and stuff, but Resident Evil 6 was the game that kind of, like, people were like, alright, we've had enough of it, we're sick of this shit, you know. And I think Capcom only had, like, a small amount of money left in the bank, and they were close to bankruptcy, and they managed to build themselves back up and come back and stuff like that. I just don't think that a studio like that, even at that time, like, gaming was so expensive. I don't even think that a studio, if they were in that kind of position, it doesn't matter if it's Capcom or not, they're not getting that second chance. And it's crazy too, because stuff like that, I mean, it's still not cool. Like making games that people maybe necessarily don't like, or making, having DLC and all this loot box stuff. Back then, people were fighting the hell out of it, and they hated it. Nowadays, I mean, there's so much worse stuff out there, than charging people DLC for stuff that's already on the disc and having to pay to unlock it. There's loot boxes. People are finishing completely unfinished games constantly, it seems like. There's like 4 or 5 big supposed AAA development games, and people are not releasing them and stuff like that, so it's kind of sad to see what games have kind of become in a lot of ways. That's not to say that there aren't still fan-frickin-tastic games out there, but I'm just more drawn to the games I've played, and it's probably because, I don't know, I'm probably autistic in a way, and I just like playing things I'm comfortable and familiar with, or from franchises I'm comfortable and familiar with. Like, love the remakes of Resident Evil games, like 2, 3, and all that stuff, but, even though it's the same exact engine, I just don't really think I could ever play Resident Evil 7 or 8 because of the first-person stuff and Ethan and stuff, but that's, I'm kind of following closely the Resident Evil 9, the Requiem, or whatever the hell it's called. I'm pretty interested because obviously I'm a big Resident Evil Outbreak fan. The character you're playing as is the daughter of Alyssa Ashcroft. So to be honest, just because of that fact, I am pretty interested in just checking out what the game's all about. And we're about to end this shit on a perfect. But our time with Battle Arena Toshinden is ended for now, so thank you guys so much for watching, and if you enjoyed, make sure to like and subscribe, check out next week's episode on Fighting Friday, but above all else, please remember to have a nice day.